Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host, Tony Cañas, and today we have in his third appearance, Ed Halsey, who I had before on episode 224. Back then, founder of Evermore Digital. And then in episode 354, as CEO and co-founder at Hub, which was then rebranded and spun off and sold off. Now video marketing at Genesis, although we're more having a kind of like generally Insurtech conversation. So first of all, Ed, thank you for coming back. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me. It's really nice to be back on, and it's nice to be. I've been bitten by the bug again of doing the kind of video content. For a while, I didn't.
Your quality is ridiculously amazing. So yes, always good when you're producing.
Thank you very much. But yeah, I've been bitten by the bug of it again. I'd forgotten how much I loved doing podcasts and just chatting with people and doing the video content. And yeah, kind of didn't do a lot of it in my time at Tavio. I was very, 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 very busy kind of running the business. Missed it. And I think there was a little bit, and this will surprise people. I think there was, and Mark, my co-founder at the time, said this to me, maybe a little bit of fear of getting something wrong, because it was so important to me, the business. And I was like, I really don't want to do something wrong. There's people who depend on us. There's the co-founders, there's all this that we've built. I really don't want to say the wrong thing or get it, get the quality wrong, or people don't like the direction that it's gone in. So I think there was a little bit of me that shied away from it. Whereas when it was Evermore, I certainly didn't shy away from it. I think I probably lent into it as much as it's humanly possible to lean into something, and did loads and loads of video. And I think that was because it was just for me, and it was, if I got it wrong, it was just me, and it didn't really matter. It was all on my shoulders, and I could be accountable for it. So no, really good to be back, and thank you for having me on for a third time. I feel honored to be on.
During the Evermore time, did a video ever cost you trouble afterwards?
Not massively. No, I wouldn't say anything ever caused me trouble. I think I probably went. I was probably on the safe side with stuff at times. I don't think I ever went too outrageous with stuff. I think the content was kind of just different in its delivery, as opposed to being kind of, a white knuckle ride. I don't think there was any topic. I mean, it's insurance. How kind of how dangerous can you get with that? But no, not really any trouble in that sense. That there was, reviews I did of policy platforms that maybe people were less than happy that they weren't included in a kind of top 5 or a top 10, or but no, not trouble, not anything. I don't think I pushed the boundaries that far. I think probably the closest we came was during the Hub days, when we did the whole rump insurance series. I think that really pushed the boundaries a lot further than I'd probably done previously. But largely, people got what it was about. They got that it was there to be disruptive, to be different, to set a different tone. And yeah, we got a lot more positive feedback than we did negative.
How many episodes was that?
Oh God, how many was it? 8 episodes, I think it was. Each as excruciating as the last. But yeah, there were some really nice bits in it, and it was really fun to do it. We recorded it with a company called Knowlton, who I would recommend to anyone. Really super professional, really fun to work with. The scripts that they wrote were funny. I think we executed, I sort of summarized it previously, I think we executed a bad idea well. And I'll take that. I'm not sure the idea was brilliant. I get why we were doing it, but I think we executed it to a good standard, and that's often as important. But yeah, it's a fail fast. You'll notice it didn't come back for a series 2.
It it would have been hard to turn it into more seasons.
Yeah, we had this really fun idea though, that there was this scene at the end where and this is very taking from lots of other scripts tonight. But we had this scene at the end of it that was interesting, where my character was getting accused by Mr. Rump of having whistleblowered him to the FCA for some of the conduct that he was doing. And we had this idea that we were going to have an after credits scene at the end of that final episode, where it turns out it wasn't Ed who whistleblowered him to the FCA at all. And it was actually, and there was a character in it played by Lloyd Knowlton in the video, who was kind of loosely based off of Keith's character, the finance guy in The Office. And we were going to have this scene where it turns out it was actually him who'd reported he was really upset that they'd stopped doing the biscuits on a Friday because he loved his food. And so he decided to whistleblow him. And we were going to see him just in the back of this cab with an FCA person, saying thank you for the intel, and he's just there with his biscuits, like, ramming them in his face. I found it funny. I thought it would have been a good ending, and we kind of had this idea of Rump in series 2 having lost the American accent, and he was actually just Dave from Scarborough, and he'd been putting the whole thing on as a character because he thought that's what people wanted, because he'd seen all the news and everything. And he was trying to rebuild himself from the ground up. That was kind of what we were thinking we might do with it. And then I think we just realized it was utterly ridiculous, and we were there to sell insurance policies and not make sitcoms.
Right. So you're now very much a British Insurtech veteran at this point. It's what 3 or 4 different things by now that you've been involved in?
Yeah, I think being involved in lots of successful ventures. Scheme Serve I was involved in when they first launched. Well, sort of down the road a little bit from when they launched, but during the scale up phase, that was very successful. Hub Tavio, very successful. Evermore Digital, I like to think was very successful in its own way. It was very of its time during lockdown. I think I kind of came across several opportunities during lockdown. I'm really ran with that. Like I say, lent into it and looked at new ways of working, and it really opened my eyes to how you actually you will be presented with these opportunities. I said, have you seen the movie Yes Man, or read the book Yes Man? I think it's a Jim Carrey movie.
Okay.
And it was a book by a UK author originally, and it was this guy who did he made it his life's he kind of made it his ethos that he would just say yes to everything. He was always negative. He was, oh, I don't want to go out this weekend. He was like, no, if someone asks me out, I'm going to say yes. If someone says, do you want that promotion at work, I'm going to say yes and see where it takes me. And he found that the more he said yes, he found himself in all these amazing situations and all of these incredible experiences and opportunities that he would previously, so much further down the ladder, have said no to things that would never have put him there. And I kind of like to think of Evermore as being a bit of that. There was lots of people who, could you do that? And me going, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, we can do a talk show with a live band, and yeah, I think we can. And lots of opportunities arose as a result of that were really, really enjoyable. And then now, as you say, kind of fourth time out, I'm with Genesis, which Genesis, the tagline for which is we've been doing Insurtech so long it's now retro, which I always really liked as a tagline. Hopefully it's not flares and it's not making a comeback in that way, but certainly they have been doing it for a long time, 25 years. Policy administration system, feature rich, cloud based, very big on connectivity, very big on automating workflows, and very quick on speed to market, which I think are 3 really important messages and three really positive things that we should be looking for in our insurer, broker, MGA platforms.
Okay, so policy admin space, it seems like there's a ton of players nowadays, and it's something that it's infrastructure, right? Like it's seemingly boring, but if you don't get that right, it's hard to get anything else done.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's certainly a lot of players, and I've said this to I've had lots of people over the years call me because I've been in that sector and sold to those customers and said, "Oh, I'm thinking of doing X, and I'm thinking of launching a platform. There's nothing in the market that can do what I want, so I'm going to build my own version." Which, trust me, there are things in the market that can do what you want. You just haven't looked hard enough. There's very little anyone is doing in the insurance market that is that innovative that they couldn't find a solution that does at least 90% of it and couldn't build out the 10%, compromise on the 10%, whatever it may be. So we've seen a lot of people, a lot have been built from that, where they've said, oh, I can't find what I want, so I'm going to build my own thing, then I'm going to productize it, and then we're going to try and sell it. The reality is it's a very small market to sell to, a very small market to sell to. And I think a lot of them have quickly as they've come about, they've sort of disappeared, because they've found that, and if salespeople are expensive, marketing's expensive, getting out into that market where you've got, let's imagine your ideal customer profile might be 200 customers that you've got access to. And most of those are in 5-year contracts. Maybe 10% of those in any given year are looking. That's 20 you've got to go at. Imagine your strike rate might be 1 in 5. Suddenly you're going 4 new customers a year. Is that going to sustain a business with all the infrastructure, architecture, and everything that we need? So I think a lot have popped up, a lot have disappeared as a result of it. I think it's harder than people think. I also think there's often too much focus on really cool, innovative new features, when actually what most MGAs, brokers, and insurers want is to be able to do the stuff that they do now efficiently. They want to be able to do it quickly without friction. They want to be able to change their processes. They want to be able to automate really mundane tasks that are in there. They want to be able to launch their products quickly. Better yet, they want to look to the future and see as new technology comes in, they want to be able to plug that technology in. They don't want to have to do a whole, lift their system and go to another platform because they're limited by, for example, all of the AI that's coming out now. Can I plug that into my system? So I think if you've got that, you're in a really good place, and that's what we should be looking for. The days of monolithic policy admin systems needs to be dead. We need an end to that. It was a big mistake as an industry that a kind of path that we went down, that we found ourselves down a very, very dead end. We couldn't get access to our own data. We couldn't integrate new services. Worse still, we couldn't actually migrate away from those solutions. Let's not make that mistake again. And let's not continue to make that mistake. Let's get on to this modern technology that's there. And I think it will be good for the industry. I think we've probably been held back by some of the technology that we've become beholden to over the years.
It seems every episode I'm recording for the last, I don't know, year, everybody is a Gen AI company now. And as a non-technical interviewer who knows about insurance but not much about technology, it's starting to sound to me like they're all saying the same thing.
Yeah, they are, and it's because that's where the money is. And we talked about how hard it is, and I've been there. I've tried to raise capital. I've tried to run a business, and it's really hard to raise money. And people, you kind of take them something like we did, an insurance broker. You go, we got an insurance brokerage, and like, nah. If I'd have gone, we've got an insurance brokerage, but it's 95% AI, they'd have gone, oh, that's amazing. Like, we want it instantly. But then can you less interested in what you can do with it, and then going, can we weaponize that, and can we productize it and sell it to all of the other brokers in the UK? And you're like, I don't want to do that. That's my competitive advantage. No, we want it to be SaaS. We want recurring it. So they go down that route, and I think that's why everyone goes this kind of if we can just do something with AI, then our valuation will pop. I actually went to the MGA conference the other day and gave a talk there, and I said my issue with AI at the moment, my issue with, like, I have personal vendetta against it, which I obviously don't. But I think the challenge with it is we're in this weird space where we're trying to find a problem for the solution of AI. That's so wrong. It's so backward. Like, why? Because all you end up doing is finding really dodgy use cases of stuff that doesn't really work, forcing the agenda, and then you don't get the return on investment you wanted. And everyone goes, "Oh, AI is rubbish." It wasn't because AI was rubbish. It was because you didn't point it at the right thing, because you weren't trying to solve the right problem. Actually, you don't need an AI strategy, right? You need a let's solve the biggest problems. Let's identify, the biggest problems in our business, and let's solve them. And if AI is part of that solution, i.e., it's in your toolkit. If I can use AI, that's great. But I shouldn't be saying what can I use AI for. That's just wrong. You must focus on the biggest friction points within your business, the areas that are costing you the most money, the areas that are slowing your underwriters down the most, the areas where you are losing money, and find a solution for those problems, whether it's AI or not. That would be my frustration with it. We don't need more Gen AI companies at this point. We know what it can do. It's going to be cool. It's great. It's going to be lots of use cases for it. But let's focus on problem first, and outcome first. And actually, I was having a conversation about this earlier today as well, which was about the procurement process. And we talked a little bit about underwriting workbenches. And I don't know if I agree with this or not, but I said something along the lines of, to me, it feels like an underwriting workbench. It just became a thing because policy admin systems weren't doing their job properly. A lot of the things that you see in an underwriting workbench, I'm like, yeah, your PAS system should do that. Not all things. There are some things that are unique to it, but 95% of it probably should have been your PAS. So the underwriting workbench came around as a kind of layer that sits on top of that, to make up that gap. Now, I haven't thought that fully out. I don't know if I fully agree with that, but I was going down that route with it. That's kind of the part of the conclusion I was coming to. Now, my theory on that is, the problem is, I speak to a lot of customers and they say to me, we want an underwriting workbench. And my first reaction is, no, you don't want an underwriting workbench. You don't want Gen AI. You don't what you want is to be able to identify and underwrite profitable business quicker, easier, and a greater operational efficiency. Let's go there. That's what you want. You want an outcome. You don't want a solution. That's a weird thing. You wouldn't ever go, I want, it just doesn't make sense. You don't want a specific solution. But I think that's a little bit of a problem we've got in the procurement process within the insurance industry, where we go to solutioning too quickly. And actually we need to take a step back from, or take a step forward from that, in fact, and say, what's the solution? What's the end point I'm trying to get to? What do I want to see happen? And work backwards from there. We go, I want this. You don't know what you want until you've worked out where it is you want to be at the end of it. So I think that's a bit of an issue we probably need to tackle slightly.
Right. I don't think you had come on the podcast since the era of higher interest rates that we've seen last year and a half, 2 years.
Yes.
Over on this side of the pond, we saw a bunch of downsizings, but and I hear a lot of founders saying can't raise. But on the other hand, like plenty do manage to raise. It does seem that there's a lot more maturity. I see a lot less idea on the back of a napkin that successfully raised money and then didn't succeed, and a lot more insurtech maturing, being more real businesses.
That's a really nice phrase for it, real businesses. And that's what we found at Genesis. Was we've seen some peers raise vast amounts of money at massive valuations. And typically that drives different behavior than you would have had before. You need to move quicker. You need to sign more clients. You need to sign them faster. You need to shorten sales cycles. You need to improve your strike rates, all of those things. And that drives seller behavior within your business. And it also just changes your priorities as a business. We were very slow to raise capital. We were bootstrapped a very long way into our journey. And that gives us a really competitive advantage because we're not under that kind of pressure to go, we need to really push this. We find the right customers who are a good fit for us, and we can focus on delivering them an exceptional service and exceptional product because we're not there going, right, where's the next one? Where's the next one? Where's the next one? That gives us a huge advantage, we feel, over our peers. Raising is definitely more difficult now. And I think, as you've said, the era of in Insurtech, where it was like, I've got this vague idea, right, just grow it. We'll just keep throwing money at the problem, grow it as big as you can, as quickly as possible. That's gone. And actually where all the investors are now looking at is, okay, that didn't really work out particularly well for us. There are very few success stories who went that route, like very few. In fact, you could probably name them on one, if not two hands, that level of few. However, now the approach is very much, okay, now show me a profitable business, a good idea that's shown slow and steady growth year on year with predictable revenues, an idea that's already gone to market and is it's got product market fit. And that is showing that they've got a very capable leadership team, and that they can deliver, not we're going to treble our money in a year. It's more, we're going to get that kind of 10, 15% year on year, and see some better returns. But it's the market's just flipped on its head. When we first went out to raise, we were literally being told like, we don't really care about the financials. I'm not really interested in the financials. Don't really care about profitability. Don't even really care about turnover. But just show us the tech. Show us what you've built. And then probably in the space of 6 months to a year, it was the exact opposite. And it was, we don't really care about the tech. Show us the numbers. We want to see what's the path to profitability. What's your EBITDA? How are you going to get there? How much money are you going to need? What's your next raise going to look like? What's your runway? Etc. It changed on its head in the space of 6 to 12 months probably. The whole message came back, and you can see a lot of businesses just don't have that level of agility where they can completely flip on the head everything they're trying to achieve as a business in the space of 6 months because someone's decided they want something different from the market. So I think you saw a lot of those ones fall away. A lot of the ones that had set themselves up as ventures to need that constant influx of money from venture capital, a lot of those fell away because they just, if you can't run a profitable business, you're not going to keep getting money pumped into you if you can't prove a path to profitability. So I think we saw them fall away, definitely. And it is without doubt the era of the sustainable insurtech, or self-sustaining insurtech, I'm going to call it.
Over here, one thing I've liked is we're seeing a lot more insurtechs being born out of insurance people. So people that like saw something broken in the system during significant insurance careers, and then partner with a technologist to solve it. Rather than the old approach or that we saw first of hey, we have a cool technology, let's apply it to insurance. So I do think that's a really good thing.
I remember Mark saying to me like a long time ago, sorry, Mark was my former business partner at Tavio, and he said to me about, the issue is we need to see that merging of real technological understanding with real insurance understanding, and not kind of just tech people who've come in and gone, we reckon we can disrupt that industry because we know loads about tech. Because it doesn't work, because insurance is so it's so complex, and it's like Shrek says about onions, it's got so many layers to insurance, and so many things that to an outsider, they just say, oh, we'll just do X. And then you go, oh, no, you can't do X because of X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, F, F, C, A, whatever they might be. You can't do it for any of those reasons. And suddenly they get frustrated very, very quickly. So I think you need to merge those two skill sets. You need to merge really understanding the intricacies of insurance, and more importantly, the pain points that insurance businesses therefore have, to really identify whether you've got product market fit. It's not just a case of going, we're going to point AI. We've seen that quite a lot actually with businesses. I remember having conversations about a lot of the insurtech vendors I looked at when I was at Evermore and was kind of reviewing them and taking part. I just remember thinking on a lot of them, I was like, yeah, it's cool, but no one's going to buy it. You've made this amazing solution, like a data solution, for example, and you've said, yeah, it's all the data that insurers need, and we're going to sell it to them. We're going to sell it to every one of them. And you go, they're on Actress. They can't ingest it. They've got no, or they're on a monolithic platform. So yeah, it is a great idea, but it's a great idea if the market reality wasn't what it is. You can't get that into the platform that they're all using day to day. So it's pretty much useless. Who do you think you're going to sell it to? And I saw that problem time and time again, where people would just, a good idea is only a good idea if people could use it. That's part of it being a good idea. And yeah, that was where I think a lot fell down in the early stages, was just they hadn't really considered the reality of whether those solutions could or could not be used.
So are you seeing much more maturity on that, or the insurtechs that you run into have a better understanding of the pain points and how their stuff can be digested?
Yeah, I think so. I think that they're kind of having to have, because they're the ones that haven't got that understanding on getting funded, because it's so much harder to get funding, and they're having to kind of prove it. I think you're going to see, purely my opinion, I'm not a financial analyst by any stretch of the imagination, but I think you're going to see a period where a lot of founders are going to have to bootstrap for a lot longer. I don't think, I've got this idea. No, don't care. Show me a year of your accounts. Show me a year of profitability, or certainly near profitability with good growth. Then we'll talk about investing. And I think that's going to kill, sadly, a lot of innovation within the industry. Ideas that actually would have been good and would have been executed, but people who just aren't in a position to we've all got mortgages that have now gone up 5% in terms of the interest rates that you mentioned earlier. We've all got families to look after. We're in a cost of living crisis. People can't sit there and go, I can just go without a salary for 6 months. Actually, better than that, I can also burn down my savings because I need these 3 employees to make it happen. So it's becoming a little bit, you're going to see less innovation as a result of it, because people just haven't got the funds to be able to take that chance. And that's probably the real shame is I think you'll see innovation slow down as a result of it, which, it's going to be down to those like Genesis and us in the market who are already established to maybe provide that innovation, provide those new technologies, and use our existing customer base, our existing framework, our existing platform to roll out those new solutions to customers.
Any predictions for 2025?
Oh, so many predictions. Yes. I think I don't know that it's predictions as much as there's 3 things that I'd like to see people focus on. I'd like to see greater connectivity across the industry as a whole. We've seen Blueprint 2 and what that's trying to do in terms of digitizing the London market. But I think connectivity as a whole, there's loads of great services. If it already exists, buy it. Stop building it yourself. If it already exists, buy it. Plug it into. Buy a platform that enables you to plug in best of breed solutions and therefore build an ecosystem to your requirements. If it's, you should only be building it yourself, in my opinion, if it doesn't already exist, because inevitably you'll say, you'll go into your IT guy and he'll say, oh, I can build that myself in 3 weeks and it'll only cost me £10,000. It won't. It will take him 3 years, and it will end up costing you 3 million quid. And it's, yeah. And by the time he actually gets around to even looking at it, you've probably found another 3 solutions anyway and just wasted a load of R&D on it. So yeah, if it's there, buy it, plug it in. Connectivity, really, really important. I really, as someone who worked at Automation Anywhere and has a background in automation, I still think we're doing a really poor job. And I'd like to see us do way more around workflow automation and kind of not necessarily RPA, but using AI in that kind of intelligent RPA fashion that we've seen previously, of actually doing tasks for us, capturing data out of policy documents, getting them into the system, removing all that kind of sludgy manual process that we all have to do, the double keying between systems. I think that's a big part of the connectivity piece as well, and having that open architecture that enables you to get data between your systems. But yeah, really trying to automate those processes as much as possible so that we can get humans back to high value tasks and away from the mundane. That would be my second call. And then third, just way more agility. We need lighter weight solutions that can be deployed faster. The reason I say that is, if you look at why Insurtech became a thing, it's because insurers weren't able to move quickly enough. They didn't have the agility. They were too tied down by legacy systems, by legacy thinking, by legacy processes, by legacy data, frankly, and the way that they needed to do things, because that's what their systems told them. So Insurtech rose as a result of it, and they were just able to move a lot more with a lot more agility. Now, they weren't able to grow to the same size, obviously, because most of those insurers have had decades to do it, but they were able to capture parts of the market. That was because they were able to, more than anything, respond to opportunity. If we go back, we rewind this to what I was saying about Evermore, and during that, Evermore came about because I was able to be agile on my own and respond to opportunity. If I was at a big clunky consulting firm, none of that would ever have happened. We just wouldn't have been able to move that quickly. We'd have to have got sign off on stuff and legal to come in. It's amazing that I didn't get sued for any of it, given the lack of, the lack of kind of due diligence around everything. I do remember a customer saying to me at one point, who put a contract in front of me. I said, "You do realize I'm a one-man band. You are a gigantic organization. If you sue me, I will just close the business down. We really don't need to go through this contract in this degree. I won't be able to afford to pay you for any damages. So this is just, this is a bit pointless." But yeah, I think that agility is really, really important. The kind of the FCA regulation and compliance is ever changing. I think that is something we should all be looking at really, really carefully. Actually, if it changes, have I got that agility to respond quickly? Can I make the necessary change I need? Or am I beholden to someone who's going to go, like when you go in a garage, oh, that's going to cost you, that's going to be 4 million quid, and it's going to take 48 months to get that change made in the system, and you're uncompliant as a result of it. That's a concern. So I think, the agility to launch products quickly, the agility to change your system to new requirements quickly, those are the 3 things that certainly I've been focused on, and what drew me to Genesis is getting those 3 things in place, getting it into more MGAs, getting it into more brokers with their delegated authorities, into more insurers where they're pushing their products out. That would be my predictions, I guess, would be a move further down that particular path, and it's one I welcome, very much welcome.
All right, cool stuff. And I agree. It'd be good if we keep moving down that path.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Anything else before we close?
No, I think we have had a good chat across everything. Thus concludes my Ed talk on the state of the industry. This is the problem, Tony. I said we only needed to have a little, you know, we were only going to have a little quick chat, and then 37 minutes of your life have gone back. Your hair was short when we got onto the call.
Correct, exactly.
Exactly. You know, this is people are now zooming back to the start of the call to see if that's true. Yeah, I think we've covered a lot of ground, and it's been very enjoyable. So thank you very much for having me.
Anytime. And for the listeners, we will have a later episode specifically about Genesis, since we haven't had that. So that is coming. Stay subscribed. Thank you.